I stand before you in the heart of Bordeaux, Saint-Julien. To the north, Pauillac and Saint-Estèphe beyond. To the south, Margaux. And behind me, the finest example of 18th century French architecture. Home to Chateau Leoville Barton and Chateau Leoville Barton, owned by the same family since 1821, the Bartons. And now we are going to interview Monsieur Anthony Barton, head of the family since 1984. Anthony, of all the great vintages of Chateau Leoville Barton you've tasted in your lifetime, which vintage stands out as the greatest and why?
It's a difficult question because I think there have been some great vintages, but there's certainly one that I always quote as being my favorite for various reasons, and that's 1945. One of the reasons is that it was made in very difficult conditions, as was explained by Michel Béthane, who was one of France's greatest wine experts. And he said, after tasting a 45 Leoville Barton, he said, you have to think what are the conditions under which you can make a great wine like this. He said, first of all, you need 6 years of war, during which the vines are totally neglected, and there's nobody to treat the vines, there's nobody to plough the soil, and there's nobody to spray the vines against disease. And he said, but the most important thing is that the proprietor is as far away as possible from the vineyard and not yet demobilized, and that way they can get on and do the job properly.
Could you put into words the experience of tasting the 1945 Chateau Leoville Barton?
Yes, I think it's a reaction of softness, although it's a big wine, obviously. It's a big wine to have lasted that long. And I won't, because I can't go into it analytically of acidity and tannins and all the rest of it. I think that's boring. I don't think you can describe wine in figures. There's a sensation of pleasure as it goes down, and I think I describe it as either silk or velvet, nice, some soft material, and I think this is a gentleness that I like. Other parts of the world are making big wines, which are gaining the reputation of being what they call blockbusters. And the reaction to that is, wow! I don't want anybody to say, wow, when they taste my wine. I want them to have a happy smile on their face and sort of look of pleasure, rather like a cat being pleased with their milk, you know.
Anthony, your wines are universally considered as blockbusters. They're wines that are holding back their magic for future generations. Can you just explain how it is that you're achieving this level of longevity in your wines?
I don't think we're really aiming at making long-lasting wines. It's happening to a certain extent. But I also think that we like what I call wines with finesse and elegance, as opposed to being too much of a blockbuster. And blockbuster is a word that Robert Parker used a lot. Yeah. And it's inclined to be exaggerated. But I also think there's a difference now between the wines we're making, where they have a longer period of drinkability, if you like. In the old days, they were rather tough when they were young, partly, I think, because they picked too early, and therefore they had higher acidity and everything, and partly because they didn't know about how to judge the right time to pick the grapes. And I often tell people that, in fact, they get more pleasure out of drinking what I call so-called lesser vintages, i.e. not the great blockbuster wines of 2000, 2005, etc., but the intermediate ones like 2001 or even 2004. They give immense pleasure if they're drunk at the right time, i.e. you get more pleasure out of drinking the intermediary vintages at the right time rather than drinking the great vintages at the wrong time, which people do. And people are already drinking 2005, which is infanticide, really. I mean, it's a pity. Obviously, being slightly commercial, we say every time we hear a pop of a cork, we're happy. And at the other time, we can also say, what a pity to have killed it so young.
You've got, under one roof, two Chateau labels, and really the real emphasis of difference is in the terroir.
Absolutely.
Could you just develop that?
Well, it's the one thing that's very difficult to describe, because people say, what's the difference in the terroir? And the answer is there's no single terroir at Leoville and a single terroir at Langlois. They're both a mixture of different terroirs. For example, how close to the river they are, or whether they've got pebbly soil or whether more sandy soil. And one chateau just doesn't automatically have a particular terroir. It's not as though the owner comes in and buys so many 100 tons of pebbles and puts them down. I mean, it's the natural terroir, and that's what makes the wine. And they are different. Langres and Leoville are different. And I think possibly Leoville is situated to the north, which is going up towards Pauillac, for example. And Langres is the southern end of Saint-Julien, which is only about 3 miles away, so it's not an enormous difference. And that's more style of Margaux, softer, more gentle wines, whereas the Pauillac area on the north is more robust and stronger tannins. I think that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. You think it's very significant as well, the amount of yield per hectare?
I think we've done what we've decided is the right thing, is what I call an average yield, and the yield that is offered by nature. And I think to do it artificially, by cutting off a certain percentage of the crop and leaving it on the ground to rot, personally that goes against the grain as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if nature is offering you a big yield, okay, you've made a big yield, and there's no reason why the wine shouldn't be good. I don't think I've ever been the sort of person who'd rush in where angels fear to tread. I rather let, if experiments are going to take place, let somebody else do the experiments, and if they work out, okay, then I'll follow on. But quite a lot of things have taken place in recent years, like extraction machines and so on and so forth. I've experimented with them, but never gone into it. And I'm glad I didn't, because now it doesn't seem to be necessary. So I'm not a trailblazer, but neither am I stuck in old traditions. I appreciate tradition. I'm very proud of the tradition of the family being here for so long.
We're tasting a 1986. Can you tell us a bit about the wine and why you believe rightly that it is a great wine?
Yes, because it was a year that, strange enough, it followed on the 85, which was really my first year. 84 I was there, but not totally in control. 85 was a lovely year, what I call a gentle year. It didn't have very strong acidity, it didn't have very strong tannins or anything, and everyone loved it. Then 86 came along, powerful, more muscular, and people said, well, it'll take time. We've now given it time, and I think personally it's tasting very well now.
Absolutely beautiful. You've reached a high pitch of consistency running from 2000 to 2009.
The thing that I think is important is that we followed a string of vintages where people talk about climate change, and we've had some wonderful years, 2000, 2003, 2005, 2009, and so we followed along with the quality that everyone's shared. And I wouldn't like to say that Leoville Barton was the only chateau that reached the high levels.
Though the 2009 Langres and Bartons, I notice, has got a stunning tasting note.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had very good notes on that.
And as a wine producer, is global warming around influencing matters?
No, better weather is, yes.